I saw him that morning, walking into the river with his pockets full of stones. My heart stopped. Chidi, the man who gave up everything for love, was about to give up his life too. I shouted his name, but the rushing water drowned my voice. The morning sun had barely risen, and the mist over the river made him look like a ghost already. Let me tell you how it all started. I am Chidi's best friend, Obinna. We grew up together, sharing everything from palm kernels to secrets. 6 months ago, I watched him fall deeply in love with Adanna, the most beautiful girl in our village. She worked at her father's shop, selling colorful fabrics in the market. Her wrapper always matched the fabrics she sold, and her laugh could make flowers grow. Every day, Chidi would walk past her shop, pretending to look at the fabrics while stealing glances at her. Chidi was a cassava farmer, like his father before him. His small farm sat at the edge of the village, where the soil was harder and less forgiving. His fingers were always stained brown from working the earth, and his clothes had patches upon patches. But his heart was rich with dreams. When he smiled, you could see the hope dancing in his eyes. One market day, Adanna dropped her basket of yams. Chidi rushed to help her, and their hands touched as they picked up the scattered yams. From that day, something changed. She started taking the longer path home, the one that passed by his farm. He started finding reasons to visit the market twice a day. After 3 months of this dance, Chidi gathered all his courage. He borrowed my best shirt, the one without patches, and approached Adanna's father to ask for her hand in marriage. Her father, Chief Okonkwo, was known for his pride and his love of tradition. "How many yams do you have in your barn?" her father asked, sitting in his big chair like a king. "None, sir." "I farm cassava," Chidi replied, his voice steady despite his fear. "How many cows?" "None, sir." "Goats?" "2, sir. But they are healthy and strong." Her father laughed so hard that people in the market turned to look. The sound echoed off the zinc roofs like thunder. "Come back when you can afford a proper bride price. My daughter deserves better than cassava leaves for dinner. Should she wear your patches as clothes?" But love doesn't listen to fathers or follow the rules of wealth. Adanna had already fallen for Chidi's gentle smile and kind eyes. They began meeting in secret near the stream where women fetched water. I would keep watch, warning them when anyone approached. Sometimes they would just sit and talk about their dreams, a small house, a garden full of vegetables, children playing in the yard. Chidi worked harder than I'd ever seen anyone work. He sold his 2 goats and used the money to plant more cassava. During the day, he worked on his farm until his hands bled. In the evenings, he worked on other people's farms, clearing land and planting yams. He even learned to weave baskets at night, selling them in the next village's market. His hands became rough with calluses, his back bent from labor. The whole village watched him work. Some people admired his determination. Others, like Adanna's mother, started to see him differently. She would secretly send him meals through her youngest son, pretending they were leftovers. Then the rains came. Not the gentle rains we needed, but angry storms that turned the sky black and the earth to mud. Lightning split trees, and thunder shook our hearts. That night, I heard Chidi crying in his farm, but the rain swallowed his tears. Everything he had worked for was gone in one night. The cassava plants lay flat in the mud, their roots exposed to the angry sky. The next morning, I found a note in my heart, written with shaking hands: "I have failed, my friend. A man who cannot provide for his love doesn't deserve to live. Tell Adanna I tried." I ran to the river. The same river where he used to meet Adanna, where they shared their dreams. That's where I saw him, walking slowly into the rushing water, stones weighing down his pockets. "Chidi!" I screamed again, running towards him. This time he heard me. He turned, stones falling from his pockets into the angry river. But I wasn't alone. Behind me was Adanna, her wrapper flying in the wind as she ran. Her feet were bare, her hair wild, but her eyes burned with determination. "I don't care about the bride price," she shouted over the sound of the river. "I don't care if we eat cassava leaves every day. I don't care if our children wear patches. Love doesn't grow in barns or sleep in cow sheds. She ran into the water, her wrapper getting soaked, and held him like she would never let go. That's when her father appeared too. He had followed his daughter, running through the morning mist. Standing there in the river, watching them hold each other, something changed in her father's eyes. Maybe he remembered his own youth when he had nothing but hope. Maybe he saw what true love looked like. Or maybe he finally understood that wealth isn't always counted in yams and cows. "Come out of the water," he said softly, his voice different than I'd ever heard it. "We can talk about this." Later that day, in Chief Okonkwo's compound, Chidi and Adanna sat together, dripping river water on the chief's best mat. And we talked. The whole village talked. About love. About tradition. About change. Today, Chidi and Adanna are married. They still eat mostly cassava, but now their small farm grows other things too. Her father helped Chidi start a vegetable garden, and her mother taught him how to keep chickens. Their house might be small, but it's always full of laughter. Every evening, you can see them sitting outside their compound, watching the sunset. Sometimes, Adanna wears a wrapper made from patches of different fabrics from her father's shop. She says it reminds her that the most beautiful things can come from pieces that others might throw away. Sometimes love isn't about what you can afford. Sometimes it's about having the courage to keep going even when everything seems lost. Sometimes it's about standing in the river, choosing love over tradition, life over pride. I know because I was there. I saw it all. And every time I pass by the river now, I remember how love can be stronger than the rushing water, deeper than any pocket full of stones. In our village, they tell this story to young people who think they can't afford to love. They tell it to fathers who hold their traditions too tightly. They tell it to remind us all that the richest harvests often grow from the poorest soil.